Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the show. My name is Avrum Rosensweig, and I'm delighted to be here with you. Thank you so much for joining me. This show is all about inspiring people. Really, it's about paying homage to humankind. And the idea really is that there is a cloud hanging over us today. I think everybody would agree with that. And within that, we have to remember about the beauty that exists in our world, about the creativity that we are all responsible for in some way over the last 6,000 years or 2 billion, whatever your spiritual predilection happens to be. Part of that is the development of a human being, the development of their career. It's beautiful to watch somebody as they grow within themselves and they pursue the talent and the gift that they have inside of them. Whatever that happens to be, if they're an accountant, if they're a doctor, if they're somebody who works on the range. Today I will be interviewing Dave Gordon. Welcome, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Avrum. I've been very much looking forward to this.
I am too. And I'm delighted to have you here. And I am because of what I just spoke of, which is learning more about you for this interview and discovering really the work that you have put in towards the development of a very, very hearty and a beautiful career in writing, in communication strategy, as an engaging speaker. It's not easy to do what you do. And we're going to talk a lot about the development of yourself as a person and within your career today. So once again, I'm really grateful for having you. Thank you.
I feel like this is your life.
This is your life. Thank you for joining us, right? So, folks, today we're speaking with Dave Gordon. As I said, who is a writer, an editor, an engaging speaker, and a communication strategist. For the past 25 years, Dave has been a media professional with experience writing, editing, broadcasting. And
podcasting.
Yeah, and podcasting, and the two words together. He's penned thousands of articles on every topic imaginable. He writes regularly on domestic and international politics, travel, business, arts, lifestyle, culture, current events, relationship issues, and more. His work has appeared in over 100 publications, including the BBC, the Globe and Mail, the National Post, New York Times, the Ottawa Sun, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Times of Israel, Washington Times, UK Guardian. And he's also worked for dozens of corporations. You don't like hearing your resume. I know, I'm like that too. And his interviews are fascinating. And the individuals whom he's spoken with over the last 2 decades are A-list folks. So we're really, really excited to have you here, Dave. And once again, thank you for being part of this.
I'm very grateful.
Have you always been, as far back as you can remember, passionate about writing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to write stories about science fiction in notepads when I was a kid, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. And I would draw planets and tell stories in whatever rudimentary English I could write. And there are little spacemen doing all kinds of things. And to the great credit, my relatives were paying keen attention, so much so that when birthdays came around, they would give me pen and paper sets. Because you like to write, here's your pen and paper set. So I would have stacks of these things that I would continue to like. And then my bar mitzvah money, I bought myself a computer where I would use the word processor and just write things. And so I feel that it has always been sort of this storyteller in my blood.
And what's very interesting too about your life is that you are very much of a practicing Jew, what we might call someone who is involved in the community, just, halachic. You follow Jewish law, I guess, to some extent.
Shomer mitzvahs,
Yeah,
Torah observant, whatever you want to call it.
Has that played into your passion for writing? I know you study Torah. When you study the Torah, are you conscious of the words and the phrases within the Torah?
Yeah, that's. I think you've asked 4 different questions.
Yeah, unpack them all.
I find the value system of Judaism to be just incredibly enlightening and insightful and fascinating, and it drives me, and it powers me, and so I, it would be a stretch to say that my career and Jewish principles intersect about as much as they can, because I'm, Judaism is about knowledge and wisdom and sharing stories and debate and communicating, and it's also about righting the wrongs. So in very, very much acute sense, when I write about the issues of the day, I'd like to think it's through the lens of Jewish principles, because I want to be able to make a change. I mean, you can throw around the word tikkun olam, or you could throw around the phrase tzedek tzedek tirdof. You could throw the phrase from Pirkei Avot, Ezehu Chacham, which is who is the wise one, the one that learns from everybody. And I have just this thirst for knowledge. I learn something new every day. I speak with someone different, with multiple people every single day, and I love bringing that to other people and saying, "Hey, look, I want to share this information." It's like almost the public is my chavrusa.
Yes. Well put. Well put. What is a chavruta?
Oh, like a learning partner.
Yeah.
Like chever is the root word, which kind of means fellow or friend, but chavruta is who you might sit across the table with and debate a line of the scripture.
So I have a shiur, a class that I give on Thursday night on Chumash, and I call it the Chavruta Shir. I also have a Chavruta whom I've been learning with for the last 8 or 9 years. Every Monday night, his name is Motel. And I've defined the word or the phrase, the word Chavruta, as an intellectual soulmate. Right?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, me too. And it's somebody who, if you and I were to sit together and we were discussing, let's say, the portion of the week, I would come up with a particular position on Moses or on Aaron or Nadav and Avihu, the sons of Aaron, and you say, Avram, I see it much differently, right? That's what a chavruta is. Then we come together in thought. Now, you talked about all the people whom you speak with in the course of a day, in the course of a week, a month. I'm in the same position. I've been doing this particular iteration of my podcast for the last year and a half, and I've done about 200 podcasts.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's magnificent. I absolutely adore it, and I have the honor of speaking to individuals like Michal Cutler, who is Israel's envoy fighting anti-Semitism, right? Nir Mammon, who is a 48-year-old. Do you know Nir?
Yeah, I know.
48-year-old IDF soldier who's being called up to Israel to fight in Gaza and the West Bank 6 times since October 7th. These are magnificent people. Is that one of the aspects of your job that you love so much? You nailed
it,
right? You love it,
right?
Yeah.
I love talking with people who are doing just incredible things. I feel like it's an honor. I find any excuse that I can to pitch a story, to talk to somebody who has an interesting life. that's just to have that conversation is for me just the brightest part of my day.
Right. Right. When you get the Ben Shapiro interviews, as you have had, do you tell other people about it? Do you tell your wife about it? Do you tell your friends about it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, I'm boasting. Look, social media, I tell everybody, hey, everybody, I just interviewed, la, 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 la. But, you know, it's not for the notch in the career belt. It's not for the name that I can put on the resume. I seek out the people who I really want to pick their brain with, and going back, I think it was 2007. I first met Ben Shapiro. So he was just a kid. I was maybe like 24 years old or something like that. Ran into him at the CPAC Conservative Conference in Washington, D.C. And then the following year, he wrote a book. Actually, I interviewed him twice that year. He wrote a book called Project President. It's pretty obscure now, but basically what he did was he studied all of the presidents and all of the presidential candidates up until U.S. president candidates up until that point, and seeing what they had in common to see if there's any predictors of what we might see in the future. And it was a nice sort of statistical fun analysis. And by way of example, he'd say something like, there never was a president shorter than 5'6". People like tall presidents.
Oh,
okay. So you would say, if you have all things being equal, president who was 5'2" and president who was 5'8", people are likely, according to the statistics, to vote for the tall. Anyways, this is fun. So anyway, I said if I find any excuse to chat with you. I have a podcast, but this is actually before there were a podcast mechanism. I was actually interviewing people on my website, and then I would put the download on my website so that people could click on it and download it and hear it. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's chat. And still to this day, I have that archive from all that many years ago, and we've spoken on a number of occasions since. So, back then I saw a little kid, Ben Shapiro, who was already a syndicated columnist and making his way up. And I thought, I see something. I know what's going to happen 10 years, 20 years from now. You're going to be the it guy. And he was.
So that's very interesting, because we talked before about planning ahead. I asked how you get these incredible interviews. And you said you look to the future and you think today, okay, I want to be at point C or point D or E in a year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Right.
So you see a Ben Shapiro and you think forward. It's like Wayne Gretzky used to say that he used to see the entire game before he played it.
Yeah, he said, don't look at the puck at where it is. Look at the puck at where it's going to go.
Where it's going to go. So you saw Ben Shapiro and you thought, okay, something's going to come of this. And you stayed in touch with him, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you, you've also done interviews with Christy Brinkley.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm curious.
Avrum, why did you, it seems like I've interviewed like 300 celebrities. Did you like have a crush on her or something? Because you just kind of picked her out of nowhere.
Oh, yes. I have an absolute crush on her, and here's her picture.
Me too. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very much in touch with with God. I have a strong relationship with God, and when I see beauty, be it in a person or be it in my cat Jack, who's a beautiful white feline, I think, my God, that must have been a great day for you, God, creating those entities.
I joke with an atheist friend of mine, Steve. He's a avowed atheist. He's like, there's no God, never. No. So I said, okay, Steve, listen to me very carefully. I can come up with all kinds of proofs in the world, but I'm going to ask you this much. Have you ever seen a stunning woman who just left your jaw drop. And he's like, yeah. And I said, and you still think there's no God?
Good one. Yeah, good one. So to bring a couple points together here, using Christy Brinkley as the center point, I want to read about a paragraph that you wrote about her, called "Timeless Body and Timeless Beauty." And I love your writing. I love your writing. Beautifully creative.
My mom does too, so that makes two of you.
Does she call you when she reads your stuff?
No. Yeah, of course she does.
Of course she does. Yes, she does.
Yes, yeah. She's emailed me, Dave, I just saw, it was great. I'm like, thanks, Mom.
You know, my mom's passed away. God bless her soul. But when I used to do something for Via Hafta, my organization that I started, or writing, I used to write for the Canadian Jewish News and so on. She would always make a point of calling me and telling me how much she liked it. Yeah. And I miss that. I miss that a lot. So here's what she wrote. Stunning and Christy Brinkley have been synonymous for decades. Very nice opening line. After appearing on hundreds of magazine covers since the 1970s, supermodel Christy Brinkley still remains an ageless blonde beauty with an attitude of gratitude. In 2017, 63-year-old Brinkley posed beachfront for Sports Illustrated with daughter Sailor and Alexa Ray, all in alluring swimwear at 63 years old. Her eternal appeal undoubtedly is among the reasons Allure and Men's Health named Brinkley one of the most attractive women of all time. As told to outliving her flair for bending, chic, elegance, and everyday style means enjoying Giovinto Rossi footwear, St. Laurent apparel, and still being a jean girl, loving labels like Ragabone or J Brand. She's a model entrepreneur. So what really strikes me is you can get into the beauty of a supermodel, and you can get into the politics of a Ben Shapiro, right? It's fascinating to me that you're part of all of those worlds and you do it so well.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I mean, like I think of my head like a magazine, really, with different sections. And I just go where I'm interested next. I like news and politics. I like pretty ladies, clearly. Movies and culture, and like just like anybody else. But the cool thing about it is that when somebody does something really awesome, I say, I'd like to speak to you, and I'll tell you, I have this idea in my head from an interview I did, must have been 25 years ago, with Steve Paikin, who is a TVO, I guess you could call him host, journalist. The show he does now, or did for like a decade or so, is called The Agenda. And he was another guy that I sought out because I wanted to pick his brain and because I wanted to learn more about journalism. And I was a cub reporter 26 years ago. So just found an excuse. I pitched it to Lifestyles magazines, at the time, a Jewish glossy that profiled very interesting Jewish people. And he and I did lunch. Imagine I'm sitting across this kid, sitting across from Steve Paikin, who was already very well known at the time. And it was just kind of under the pretext of the Lifestyles interview, but I really just wanted to chat with him about journalism. So I said to him, if there's one key takeaway about journalism that you'd like to leave me with, what is it? And he said, he used his fingers. He said, know this much about this many things, and that way you'll be prepared for any sort of assignment that comes your way.
Excellent. It's very,
and I've taken that with me. 26 years 26 years later, and it is a testament to really paying attention to what other people advise you on, and being very interested in improving your career and improving your life, and really listening, and being open to criticism, being open to feedback, and saying, how do I want to get here, and I know that you're there, so how do I get from here to there, just like you did? So I've just asked people, and found ways to emulate their lessons.
Does your wife tell you that you're a good listener? Your wife, does she tell you you're a good? Because I think
my wife is a psychologist. My wife is a psychologist. She's paid to listen.
Yeah.
So it's actually very funny that I've learned from her about listening. But my part of my career is asking questions and synthesizing what other people say into the story. So I would like to think that I listen well. I try my best, and I hope it's reflected in my work.
I follow certain interviewers because I really like their style. I was really mesmerized by Larry King because he was the master of one-word questions. Oh, and how? Really? Where did that go? And he would do an entire interview like that.
How do you mean?
Exactly. I love Howard Stern, right? Because he probes so deeply.
And I'll tell you something about Howard Stern, which I am now more a fan of than I ever was.
Yeah.
He was like the shock jock. He was like the dirty clown of radio for a very long time.
Yeah.
But over time, he came to realize that the act can only last so long.
Mm-hmm.
That you play that note, and like, what have you got? People are just gonna look at you like you're the Jerry Springer of radio. No. So now he's developed himself as more of a, just like you said, today's Larry King, in a way that I think he's more focused on connecting than he is asking questions. I don't know if you noticed this. He's like, there's an exchange of storytelling. He's not really asking questions. He's like, I was just driving down the parkway the other day, and I saw the same thing that you did, and it was just like they're just talking.
Yes. Which really is the beauty of what he's always done. It's schmoozing, right?
Oh, schmoozing.
It's schmoozing. That's what it is. And when I tell people that, people often ask me, they say, "What's your podcast all about?" It's me and you, Dave, sitting around late on a Thursday night after studying Torah, let's say, having a beer and sitting and talking about life, just hashing it out. Those are the best nights. Those are the best times, right?
A good conversation, I'll tell you. And my time with Steve Paikin is proof that a good conversation can stay in your head for decades.
I've interviewed Steve a couple of times, and what I really liked about him is how earthy he is. He's very, very down to earth, and he's very open about who he is, about his family, about his great love of Jewish camp, and he's out there with it. He'll share it with you. I asked him recently, Steve, do you want to do another go around? Shall we do another interview? He goes, what do you want to talk about? I said, I want to talk about your life, your history, who you are, where you've come from. He goes, no, man, that's boring. Right. And I thought, well, you know what? Good for you. Because he wants to talk about other things that are perhaps much bigger in his mind. World affairs, where the Jewish world is at, anti-Semitism, politics on campus, and all that stuff. That's where he's at. That's what he's thinking about. And that's his form of Tikkun Olam, right, Dave?
Yeah. He does that very well. He will bring things to the fore and make the informational struggle very real. Sometimes they'll take two opposing points of view and they'll go back and forth. You won't get answers, but what you will get is more, shall I say, more argument in a good way coming to the fore.
Yeah, you always feel
I
really.
like that.
I like it too, and I always feel really clean after watching his interviews. He's just very upbeat. He's very positive. He's a good man. I want to talk to you a little bit about research, because I tend to think that the great interviewers are individuals who really dig deeply in their research. They just don't come to an interview with surfacey questions. You interviewed Isiah Thomas, and you asked him a particular question, and his response to you was you asked him about the uniqueness of his game in a particular way, and he said, "You know what? I have never been asked that question before." And I don't know about you, but that is my trophy on the mantle when a guest will say that. Right? Right? Am I right?
Yeah. It's a real treat not to be the person to have asked that same question 1,000 times. I want to be I want to be the guy to throw the curveball and ask the question that you've never heard of before.
Right.
And that's of all the questions that I ask people in interviews, at least lengthy ones, I try to come up with something just a little bit different.
How do you do that?
Time, really, training, skill, improvisation, creativity. Sometimes, and we just go back to some of the interviews that I mentioned of people who I grabbed because I found them fascinating. So you could take any given celebrity or newsmaker that I would chase down, and who I already have a familiarity with. So I would kind of know their background and know some inside baseball stories to pick their brains about. So some of that is fandom, if I already know the background, or if there's something in a film. I'll give you an example. I interviewed Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Yes.
And I said to him, Christopher, you are Doc Brown, and Doc Brown is Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
People look at you and they're like, there's no differentiation. How is it that you just managed to embody that character so well, so that 40 years later, people will look you on the street and they won't say Christopher Lloyd. They're going to say, oh, that's Doc Brown. And he said, oh, nobody's ever asked me that question before. When I was with Michael on the set, we just said we're gonna get a character, and that's exactly what we did. And I don't know, Dave. That's just who I am.
Yeah. It's a great invitation, by the way. Excellent. Do you do other imitations?
Maybe.
That's very good. Do you work on them, or they just come to you?
Yeah, I work on them because when I'm bored, or after I do an interview, I'll find something funny to say in my head about them, and I'm just kind of like, I wish I could come up with a list of people that I can imitate. I don't have it right now. They just sort of.
Can you do
if
one
I come
more?
up with another one, I'll let you know.
You can't think of one more?
Not right now, but I'll try.
So you're interviewing Matisyahu.
Yeah.
Great Jewish singer.
I was the first major interview. First major print interview. He had this obscure Hasidic reggae guy had just appeared on Jimmy Kimmel. Might have been 2004. And I tracked him down. Hey, here's another one. I see that down the line, something magical is going to happen with you. I know it.
Yeah.
So I used also Lifestyles magazine, the Jewish glossy that I mentioned to you before. And I rang him up, and it was his first print interview, first major interview. I was the first guy going back 21 years ago. I can't believe it. And then he's like, "Hey, you want to come to my show?" Yeah, okay. So my wife and I went to Red Hook in Brooklyn. He gave us a free CD. He gave us a couple free tickets, and it was one of his first large-scale non-club concerts. And I thought that was like, wow, I saw that coming. That was fun. And I said, what we talk about unique questions, and I said, is there something that you can tell me about what happened at Jimmy Kimmel that we didn't see on camera?
Yeah, excellent. Great question.
Yeah. You know what he did? He was on the phone in the green room with his rabbi learning Gemara.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, those are great moments, and it's really funny too, because I'm sure that people love the interview you did with him, but it's those nuances, it's those treasures that people enjoy so much, those little pieces like that.
Yeah. Guess what I found, guys? I went and dug up a little nugget of gold. See?
Yeah. I've interviewed some stars too, and when the interview hasn't started yet, that's when the real treasures and gems come out very often, right?
Yeah.
Like I interviewed Big Pussy from The Sopranos.
Oh.
It was a great interview, and he's at a stage of his life. He's older now. I think he's late 70s, where he's very open about who he is. He's not as guarded as he used to be. I think many actors I find at that age, there's a little bit of loneliness that creeps in because they've spent so much time in their career and not their family, right? But the things he told me before the interview were just absolutely fascinating about where he'd come from, who he was, what it was like on the set, the real good people on the set, the not so good people, a little bit of Lashon Hora, But that is all fascinating stuff. Now, Dave, you're a Jew, you're a podcaster, you're a broadcaster, you're a writer. You've been involved in writing books and co-writing books, and you're also a Canadian, good, solid Canadian. To that end, you've interviewed individuals like Kiefer Sutherland and Dan Aykroyd. Now, I adore Dan Aykroyd.
Oh my God, he's so good.
Right? What was he like?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question.
Thank you.
It was an interview for BBC News. I was writing the business and entrepreneur section, and told my editor, Dan Aykroyd is the proprietor of a brand new vodka, and let's use that business hook as an excuse for me to chat with him. And he was very jovial and very easygoing and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Talkative, expressive, just went on and on and on and on. So we're at the 40-minute mark. And as I like to do, because I'm respectful, I say, we're at the 40-minute mark and I want to respect your time. Roughly how much more time do you think we should go? And he says, yeah, whatever you need. So long as you need something from me, you just ask away. And so I took another 10 minutes. So effectively I had an hour on the phone with this guy, and 3/4 of it was just me talking about like questions that I wanted to find out about, like what it was like being Ghostbusters and hanging out with Bill Murray and stuff completely relevant to the BBC article. Because I got enough quotes. Fine. It's just I want to chat with him. And then he says to me, in 2 weeks I'm going to be in Toronto. Can we meet?
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm like, okay. he was guest judging a food competition at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. And so I was going back and forth with his PR, and we finally got to, and I got a bottle of his vodka signed, and I got a picture with him, and a little 5-minute coffee with him, just a little schmooze. Oh, we were talking about those real moments. And when I was going on my cell phones to get to the photograph app, so I'm typing in my password, I get on the home page, and it's a picture of my 3 girls in skating helmets and skate on the rink. And immediately he starts asking questions about my kids. He's like, "Oh, those are really cute kids. What are their names? How old are they? What are their hobbies?" I'm like, I'm not a guy. Like, who am I? I'm some schmo. And he saw the pictures on my phone, and he's like, "Oh, you can tell me about your kids." So this is all to say that I have a man crush on Dan Aykroyd because of his warmth and because of his compassion and how much he gave me, that I like him now more than I did before, both as an actor and as a human being. I mean, he told me all kinds of stories. I'd love someday to tell people all the fun things that he told me, but now they're just for me, and I've got it all recorded.
John Candy was exactly like you're saying.
You met him?
And there's no, but I've read much about him, and I think that everybody who's ever watched the film of his, Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, they feel as though he's an uncle. He's a avuncular.
Yeah.
They feel like a brother, like his son. And is that Canadian, that warmth?
Oh, interesting.
That curiosity?
If I compared Canadian interviewees with American interviewees versus international interviewees, I never made the distinction. I never connected the dots. But you know what? I wouldn't doubt it. We've got this sort of cultural politeness. I don't know what about it is that we're just very Canadian. So Kiefer was very nice. Oh yeah. So Kiefer was the same way. He's like, so Dave, next time I'm in town, I'm going to give you an email. I want you to reach out to me because I want to meet you.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you hook up with him?
Oh, I never managed to hook up with Kiefer. That didn't happen. But there from time to time, they will just some, and there are people who I've interviewed multiple times that at some point they'll be like, okay, now that I know who you are, if you're ever in town, look me up and we'll have a coffee.
To flip that around, you're the Canadian interviewer. So you've sat with stars like Kenny Rogers.
Right? Kenny Rogers, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah. By the way, about Kenny Rogers, my question was, and then
I don't care about your question because I got so much to say about him, but ask anyway.
Then fine. Forget my question. Here's what you wrote, a piece about him. He said, when he made his millions back in the 70s, he knew exactly how he would celebrate, building a massive house with its own 18-hole golf course. I love this because it speaks to the core of the man. He fitted the grounds with hundreds of automated water sprinklers. Now 78, when you wrote this, Roger said, I would drive a golf cart out right into these sprinklers, and it was such great fun.
I'm gonna cry.
Nice.
We made friends with one another. He's gone now.
Yeah, he died.
It's such a special story. So this is how it goes. And I hope that your viewers will indulge something of an elongated story. I trust that they'll find it as interesting as I did. This interview happened out of a circumstance that is just so out of the ordinary. It's almost unbelievable. I was being interviewed for a comms job at a real estate coach company called Richard Robbins. And I was sitting across from, I guess you could call it the director. Her name is Sue Robbins. And she was just asking me some personal questions. We were just schmoozing, just like we were, which is what a good job interview should really do, just to get to know who you are and to get into your mind and soul. And she said to me, Dave, you seem very grounded. You seem very calm. How is it that you manage to be so grounded and calm? And I said, best I can do is I can say that about every hour or so, I grab a tea and I have like 2-minute Zen time, just me and the tea. Nothing else exists. It's like my hourly Shabbat, 2 minutes to refocus, get back in the zone. And she said, oh, that's just really amazing. Now let me tell you what does that for me. And she tells me 2 words. She says, Kenny Rogers. And I had to hold myself back from laughing at the woman who was interviewing me because I thought she was actually kidding. She's like, no, Kenny Rogers. Like when I listen to him, I really feel like I'm in a different calm zone. Anyway, I'm going back home after this interview, and I'm thinking any number of other people could have been interviewed could have applied for this very job. Some maybe even more qualified than me. What can I do to just really get her attention, to really stand out? I really want her to know about my determination and my ambition and my will to please. So I did something really wacky, Avrum. And one of my mottos in life is it costs nothing to ask. And that's what I did. I looked up Kenny Rogers' manager's phone number. And I called her. And I said, you don't know me from Adam. In fact, you probably get 700 calls just like this on a daily basis. Some sort of fan, some sort of gushy fan who wants something or other. But this is my story. I really, really need the work. I really, really need this job. And I'm just wondering, is it conceivably possible to, send Sue a signed 8x10 as my way of expressing gratitude for her, and I really want to impress her. I really want to go above and beyond. I really want the power. I really want the power of wow. Knock her socks off. And I said, I know you've probably been asked this 700,000 times, but I thought it'd be worth an ask, right? So what does it cost me? 2 minutes of a phone call? And she could say no. So she said, I'll let you know. Which any guy who's ever asked a girl out knows that means no.
Yes.
But at 11:15 the next morning, I get a phone call from Kenny Rogers' manager. And she says, you want an impression? I'll give you an impression. She says, Dave, this is Kenny Rogers' manager. We spoke yesterday. You talked to me about how desperate you were to get yourself that job. And Kenny wants to help you out a little bit. So I got something to record a phone conversation. Yeah. All right, in 4 to 5 minutes, he's going to give you a call, and you tell him what you need him to say. And you go on and said that to your friend Sue, and we're going to get that job for you. From after the interview, I'll send you the clip.
Yeah, please.
Is Kenny? You want an impression? Kenny Rogers was on. I talked to him a little bit about the context. I'm on the phone with Kenny Rogers, and I'm like, what the flying hell is going on here? This guy actually took time out of his busy day to help a nobody get a job. Yeah, he did. He did. And the recording says something like, "Hey there, Sue. This is Kenny Rogers. I was told by Dave that you're a big fan of mine. I just want to say thank you. Next time y'all are at my concert, I want you to come by and say hello. Thank you very much." It was sort of, and I fired it off to Sue. Look at me. Anyway, Sue writes back within like 10 minutes, exclamation marks everywhere, because she is the fan of all fans of all fans. And I later looked up on her Facebook page, and it's like all Kenny Rogers all the time. And she says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. How could I not give you the job?"
Good.
No, hold on. It gets better. It gets better, because Dave thought on his feet. I said, "Kenny, while I have you on the line, I write for BBC News. Could you spare a little bit more time for some questions? And then that way I can kind of make an article out of it." "Yeah, whatever you need, Dave." Then I wrote another 2 articles. So by this time, I've already spent, I don't know, a couple of hours on the phone with Kenny Rogers. And the coolest thing for me was, like the cherry on the top for me, was when Kenny answered the next conversation, the next phone call, and he says, "Dave, I looked up your work. I want to say I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I like your work."
Sweet. That carries you, doesn't it?
What?
When I get responses from people whom I've interviewed in writing, I save them.
Yeah, I do save them too.
And sometimes when I'm feeling really bad, it's like that Talmudic story where you carry a piece of parchment in your paper that says, "For you, God created the world." What I'll do is I'll open up those emails and where people said nice things about me, and I'll remind myself, you got to keep going, man. People like what you do.
Yeah, when I'm down, when I'm lonely,
Yeah.
when I feel like the world's caving in,
Yes.
just open that email. I don't have to pay a psychiatrist. I just got, a dose of dopamine with someone who says, "Thank you for doing what you do." And that to me is that my job has something different than most other people's jobs, I think, because I'm so public, is that people can reach me. And yeah, I get a lot of emails saying you're a piece of garbage, but like, whatever, you're probably a nut job anyway. But all the emails that come to me and the phone messages and so forth, that's such a happy, shiny thing.
It is. It's a beautiful time. And I always feel badly for those individuals who are in a particular career, like an accountant, who maybe don't get those testimonials on a regular basis. Hopefully they do from their clients. But I think we are so lucky.
We are.
We are, right?
I'm blessed.
Very, very blessed to do what we do. Dave, a number of years ago, the organization which I launched, which is called Via Havta, held a gala. And the keynote speaker was Elie Wiesel, the voice of the Holocaust. And I was sitting next to him, and I was tongue-tied. I didn't know really what to say to him, but I sort of eked out a conversation between us. He gets up to speak, and I think it was the type of quiet in the room that I've never heard before, where you could hear a pin drop. And everybody attached themselves to his every word. And when he was finished, silent in the room, tune applause went up. He sat down next to me. I said to him, "You know what? You're a fine speaker." He said, "Thank you so much." That was my moment.
Wish I was there. Wish I was there.
It was fantastic. That was my moment with Elie Wiesel, What was your moment with Elie Wiesel?
Yeah. Well, I spoke to him after he got ripped off by Madoff.
Yeah.
And I'd spoken to him a number of times before that, but not long conversations. In that particular interview, I don't know if, yeah, I already started the story. I gotta finish it. I said, what is it like to know that your work has really changed the landscape of Holocaust education and Holocaust awareness? It's just, you've done so much for the world to draw attention to the atrocities. And he said something like, to be honest with you, I wish that what you said was true. Can you imagine, like, the guy is humble. And he said, we keep saying never again, but every decade there's a never again. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do or say anymore.
Yeah. What did you say?
That's stuck with me. That was like a shard of glass ripping right into my chest.
Do you remember what you said to him?
In response?
Yeah.
I don't think I said a thing. I was just like, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't know. I think I probably would have said something that I'd say today. It was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
You like, what? No. But that's what he said.
You interviewed Douglas Murray. Did he give you hope?
Yeah. I've interviewed him twice at length for the National Post, a year apart. About 3 weeks ago, my most recent National Post article was the front page. It's a 2,300 word interview. I also interviewed him. Thank you.
Yes.
I consider it a big coup. I've been published many times in the National Post, but never the front page. You'd imagine at Shul, I'm like the most famous guy at Kiddush.
For sure.
Whatever. I interviewed him on stage, I think it was last August, for the Association of Israeli Soldiers Gala. So cumulative, and we have all met about 4 or 5 other times. Give me hope. Yes, because in my view, to have a Gentile ally of the Jewish people is one thing. To have a Gentile ally with such chutzpah and strength and moral clarity and articulation and widespread recognition and being widespread in the media and widely respected and widely printed. I mean, like, this guy's a unicorn. I wish we could clone 10 of him. I mean, I wish there was some sort of, we could come together and build some sort of Douglas Murray cloning factory. And I'm kind of being facetious, but I'm not, because I feel as if maybe the Jewish community could figure something out with our allies and training and I don't know what. But he alone, I think, has done such incredible. I consider him one of our righteous among the modern nations. For his stalwart defense of Israel and the Jewish people, unapologetic, brilliant man. I don't know what else to say, but I, like many other people, are so in awe of what he does, and I want more people to do what he does.
When Douglas Murray speaks, I think that he is playing a significant role in what we call Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. Do you feel, as the interviewer, that your role is similar as such, equivalent?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, that I would love to think at at the time I go home that way. You know what I'm talking about. By the time I go home
Until
to
120.
120, I'd like to think that I spent a significant chunk of my life and career helping bring the issues to the fore, helping enact change, helping people have a greater understanding. I mean, look how many people are really ignorant of Judaism and really ignorant of Israel. And what a wonderful thing to know that maybe someone will stumble upon an article that I wrote or an interview that I did
Mhm.
and suddenly go, oh, I just learned something new. My views are now changed. I'm going to now tell other people and bring positivity to the world. I just wrote a piece for Jewish News Syndicate, the 10 reasons why anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I felt as if in the past month that was a real treasure for me because of so many people who think that it's not. And I just really want one person who thinks that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism to read this and at least consider the opposing view. That for me, Dayenu.
Dave, why are the Jewish people hated so much?
Okay, so let me tell you, Avrum, you could hop on a plane to Israel, hang out for a day, fly back, and I could still be talking about this topic.
Yes. In a nutshell.
Okay. In a nutshell, I will tell you something that's in the Gemara, and something that the rabbis have encapsulated. The rabbis are oftentimes fans of on one foot. In other words, how can you simplify something in a way that says everything it needs to say and memorably and shortly? And they came up with a play on words. You don't have to speak Hebrew to know that it's a play on words when they say Sinai, Sina. And what the first one is Sinai, Sinai. And the second word, it sounds very similar, means hatred. And ever since Sinai, we've been hated. And the reason is that we stand for something. We stand for goodness. We stand for boundaries. We stand for values and principles and compassion. And there are societies that don't see things the same way. And they hate us for it.
So I've asked many of my guests that same question. One answer I found very compelling came from Simon Mamon, who's married to Nir Mamon, whom we both know. He's a 48-year-old IDF soldier who's been called up to fight in Israel 6 times since October 7th. I said, Simon, I interviewed her separately, what it's like to be the wife of an IDF soldier and mother of 5. And I said, so Simone, why are the Jewish people hated so much? And her response was, I could care less. She said, I don't care. It's not my problem. It's their problem.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Dave, I have been playing with AI for a number of months for my podcast, asking it to print up a poem for my guests. So I have what is titled "Ode to Dave Gordon" here. Would you like to hear it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, you're going to hear it. In the realm of words, where ideas take flight, Dave Gordon weaves tales from morning till night. A writer and editor, a voice strong and clear. For 25 years, his craft brings us near. With pen as his sword, he carves out the truth on politics, travel, and culture, forsooth. From art to affairs, relationships too, his thousands of stories, each one ringing true. In pages of giants, BBC, Times and more, Globe and Mail, Guardian, his words freely soar. The National Post, the Ottawa Sun and beyond, his byline's a map where great thoughts correspond. A strategist sharp with the speaker's fine grace, he shaped campaigns bold for causes to embrace. Corporations, nonprofits, all seek his skill. For web copy and market, his words fit the bill. 4 years he spoke through a podcast bright lens, insights and influence with voices immense. Top minds, culture's pulse, in each episode shared. His questions, his wisdom, a legacy bared. A Jew with deep roots, his Yiddishkeit shines, fighting hate's shadow with eloquent lines. For Israel, his people, he stands ever strong, a champion's heart where his words are all belong. Dave Gordon, a scribe with a fire that won't fade. In the tapestry of time, his mark is well made.
And this is why you shouldn't use AI.
Because? Why? Did you not like it?
I'm just ribbing you. It was very touching. Thank you very much for that. Maybe I'll put it as the next bio.
You know, I think the point is, like Bob Ray told me how hollow his AI poem was. In other words, Avrum, it's written by a computer. But Wendy Holden, whom I interviewed yesterday, she's a prolific writer, just wrote a book called The Teacher of Auschwitz, magnificent writer. She cried when I read her piece. She cried. So where it comes from, how it's been developed, I think the point here is that, like, you've done a hell of a job. You really have.
Thanks. You know, it's good to hear because I, like any writer, have self-doubts.
I know.
And like any career person, I wish I had so much more. But simcha behelko, be happy with your lot.
Amen.
Is what Pirkei Avot teaches us.
Amen. And I often ask people, if God forbid, chas v'chalila, like we say, if you knew tomorrow was your last day, Dave Gordon, would you say to yourself, okay, life well lived? Would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you know, with a lovely wife, 3 lovely kids.
Yeah.
And a dream career where I got to speak to people who I always want to speak to and talk about things that I like to talk about, and in places that I wanted to talk about them in. Yeah, lots of good stories. Someday I think I'd like to tell them all to my kids and hope that they find them interesting too.
You know, before the interview, I was telling my dear friend Ellie Rubenstein, who is the spiritual leader at Habonim, and he's also the international director of education from March Living. I said, I'm interviewing Dave Gordon.
Known him for many decades. Sure.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I'm interviewing Dave Gordon. He goes, Dave, wow, I haven't seen him in a while, but we used to see each other, you know? And I told my sister Javi, whom you wrote an article about her husband, David, who was murdered. She says, yeah. Dave was in our home, you know? We schmoozed about this before. So I guess what I would tell you, you know, from one journalist to another, the beauty of our job is that we're exposed to such greatness, and we have the ability to share their thoughts and ideas to counter the garbage out there. I think the difficulty of our job is it's very lonely. It can be very lonely, right?
Yes, it can be very lonely being tethered to the screen.
Yes.
But you said something I just picked up out of, is that I don't like lies. I don't like mistruths. I don't like half-truths. I don't like one side of the story. it's a bugaboo of mine. Really eats at me when I see things out there that have no basis in truth. And the Jew in me, the truth seeker in me, the journalist in me, I say, no, hold on a second. No, that's not true. There's more to the story, or you've told that story wrong, which probably explains why some of the most fulfilling work that I've done is writing about Israel and the Jewish people, has been much maligned, and writing counter stories to stories that have said some awful things. I feel like it's my duty.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. You know, when I interview IDF soldiers or families of hostages, former hostages, afterwards I think to myself, my God, these are the Jews on the front lines of our people. And then I remind ourselves, no, we play a significant role here too. Really significant. So I want to thank you for that. I really do. I love what I've loved what you've accomplished. I'm so happy that you did this interview today, and I thank you for it. And I wish you, as they say in Jewish, Yisher Koach, on a job well done, an arduous job well done. And I know what it takes to get an interview with the A-list folks. And just for that alone, man, like, way to go. Outstanding. Just outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Avrum, to you too, sir.
Thank you.
To go at it, 200 episodes and talking to interesting people. I've tuned in. I know what you talk about, who you speak to, and I'll say about you. You said some nice things. I'll say some nice things.
Thank you.
Your interview style pierces the soul.
Thank you.
I let's meet up, you and me. Grab a beer, my treat. Let's do this again, but offline, and chat some more.
Do me a favor, bring Danny Aykroyd with you in the spirit of Kenny Rogers.
Let me see what I can do.
See what you can do. Folks, at the end of my podcast, I very often like to sort of present you with a synopsis of what you can take away from it. And I think that it's consistent with what I said at the top of this podcast, which is Dave Gordon has worked long and hard to establish a wonderful reputation and an incredible, incredible career. It's not easy, and it takes toil, and it takes sweat, and it takes disappointment. And it takes hearing on the phone, no, I'm sorry, you cannot do this interview. We just don't have time for you. Right?
How many times I hear no?
Yeah, absolutely. But you got to stay in the game, man. You got to keep fighting, because it's those people who do keep fighting who ultimately show success, very often wonderful success. Take that away from this interview. Take that away from Dave Gordon. Any concluding?
Yeah, thank you. That's what I say, is that when you're first learning to shoot the ball, the first 500 shots, you're probably gonna miss or sink the basket just out of fluke. But after that, boom, 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 because you toiled at it and you worked at it and you chipped away at it and you kept at it.
You never score those goals of, if you don't shoot the puck. But by the way, I want to point out something to you. You're very Italian almost in nature. You use your fingers and hands a lot when you talk, like.
Sono malade.
What are you talking?
It's interesting. I never even we talked about questions that nobody's ever been asked. I've never been asked that before. But it turns out, like, my great grandparents were from Milan, so maybe that's the Milanese in me.
Yeah, like that Steve story you said before. Know a lot about what is that? Know a lot about a little. Is that what it is? Yeah,
a little bit about a lot of things.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and for listening. We're very grateful. If you have any questions, please be in touch. Go out there and find your gift, man. If you don't know it already, and make it rock. Make this world better. Do your tikkun olam. Be involved in the betterment and the enhancement of this earth, which we share right now. This is our time on the clock. Dave Gordon, thank you again for being with me. I appreciate it so much. And I look forward to
Thank
having
you.
that coffee with you. Until we meet again, folks. Sei gesinnt. You speak Yiddish, Dave?
Ja, ich verstehe.
Verstehe a bissle, right?
Ist
A bissel. So sei gesinnt. Go in good
reden.
health. Until we meet again, folks. Thank you so much.